All right. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for showing up to today's live stream. We have a really great couple guests for today's live stream. We've got the Studio Rats coming on, and I'm going to bring them on in just 1 second. But I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Chris O'Hara. I'm part of the IK team here, and we're going to be talking a lot about TONEX and gear and a lot of great things music related. But first, I'd like to give everyone a quick little overview of the Tone Partner collections. And we released these Tone Partner collections back in July. And we've partnered with over 20 different tone partners that create some really great tone models for the TONEX ecosystem. And so they're very easy to access and to explore. It's a great way to augment your TONEX pedal, TONEX software. And if you ever need some new inspiration, there's a lot of great stuff in the TONEX Tone Partner collection. So you can find these on our ToneNet site, or you can also find these collections right inside the TONEX software. So if I show you my screen real quick, here's the TONEX software. And if you're connected to ToneNet, what's great is that you can explore all of them. You can demo them. Each collection even offers a free tone model. And all these Tone Partner collections will work in any version of TONEX software, including our free version. So if you just want to pick up the Tone Partner collections and use them, it's a great option for you. Or if you want to get into any paid version, they also work in any version of TONEX, which is really cool. Once you've selected these, you can even narrow them down just by selecting the actual Tone Partner name there, and then this will then filter all their collections right inside the TONEX software, which is really cool. And then you can buy them, and once you've purchased these collections here, you can just go into your account settings and then just hit restore purchases, and that will then download, and it'll basically load them into your local library. So once you have them in your local library, you go over to your collections and select partners, and you can see here I have all these different collections that I've purchased through the ToneNet site. So it's really simple. Great way to explore some new sounds and augment and start to build a great sort of tone collection, if you will. So there you go. Just a quick little rundown. You can, like I said, you can also check these out on our ToneNet site, and you can explore a bunch of great collections there. So now, without further ado, I'd like to bring on the Studio Rats. So we have James Ivey and Paul Drew, who are combined with the Studio Rats. They have a great YouTube channel. They've released a lot of great gear reviews on their channel. They do a live stream once a week, and they have a ton of experience in the music side of things. So we'll get to pick their brain a little bit. So hopefully you have some questions that you can, bring to the table for them. And also they were nice enough they were going to give away their entire collection, all their tone models, to one lucky winner who comments or enters a question for them for this live stream. So be sure to add your question, and at the end, they're going to pick one lucky winner, and they will have their entire catalog offered to you as a giveaway. So be sure to do that. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on both Paul and James.
Welcome. How do you do? How you doing?
How you guys doing? I'm getting a little echo.
But
maybe we can.
That shouldn't be
turn that down a little bit.
I think it's that new analog. Pedal you're using, maybe. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Great to have you on here. I'd like to maybe start just a little bit on your YouTube channel. You've had it for a while now. So what kind of prompts you guys to start? How did that come about?
It started. I'd say about. I've got that delay. That delay hideous, isn't it? It started about 5 years ago, I think. The YouTube channel, and it all came about. Because I was doing music production. I'm gonna take these out of my ear. I was doing a lot of music production and music songwriting for pop acts and TV shows and films and that sort of stuff. And to be honest, I got a little bit burnt out, whether you call that your midlife crisis. And because I was doing loads of programmed sort of stuff, I wanted to do more band material and then and have a YouTube channel that was basically just band and a bit of a vanity project, as it is, I guess you could say now. And then
hey Paul, can I stop you
for some reason?
Can I
stop you for
one? I'm going to try to fix this delay. So sorry about that. Maybe if you can mute yourself for just 1 second, or you can, if you want to sign back on, I can do that. Maybe fix that. James, how's the echo? How's the echo?
I've got no echo at all from either of you. So
very clear. Okay, great. Very clear. Okay, great. So maybe Paul, if there's something on your end that you can adjust.
I will. Let me have a quick look. I'll come out and come back.
Cool. No problem. So
this is a regular occurrence on our live stream as well, to be honest.
Yeah. No problem. So maybe James, can you give us a little bit of backstory about how did you connect with Paul?
Paul and I used to create content for another website, the Production Expert channel, and we met through that. And likewise, we'd both been. I think we'd probably run our course with that and gone as far as we could. And I'm definitely a muso first, techie second. And Paul and I seem to get on, and we, the whole idea of playing commercial rock, commercial pop music, I suppose. The idea of being a drum machine didn't appeal to me anymore. And Paul had this idea for kind of making some real sort of radio-ready music with, guitars and drums and bass and different singers and stuff. And that kind of really appealed to me. So the Rats started off as a band, effectively. And then we started doing sort of gear reviews, and we got into different things. And it kind of became a guitar channel kind of by accident, really, I think. We didn't start with the idea of, we're gonna take over the guitar world and stuff like that. It just sort of happened organically. And the fact that Paul and I are both absolute gearheads doesn't harm that at all, So
James, you're a drummer.
Yeah, sorry about that. A drummer first and foremost, but guitarist probably second. But I play bass and sing enough to make a noise and stuff. So, yeah, but drums is my thing. And obviously, what's the line? Any band is only as good as its drummer.
It's true.
So I'm going with that.
Has the delay improved?
I'm still hearing it, unfortunately.
Okay, is that if that's while I'm here, shall I go and then you guys can do this? And I think that will save it for some reason. It's not working.
Try going on headphones, mate. I know you don't like it.
That's exactly what I'm on.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, I'm on. So it's not my end. It's not my end.
Well, if I mute, does it go away?
Let's see. The Studio Rats channel. I mean, how did that evolve for you? Because it's like James just mentioned, it's kind of evolved into this guitar channel, and you both are obviously fans of all things related to guitar, and you guys do a lot of different like pedals. I see pedals. You introduce guitars. There's amps, obviously, on the channel. So, how did that come about?
Well, it was great. I mean, it started off. So, sorry if I'm repeating myself without the while the delays were going on, but yeah, it started off that I was a music producer and songwriter, doing a lot of pop stuff and film stuff and TV stuff, and I think I had a bit of I just got fed up with doing over-programmed music, and so what happened was I decided that it was time to sort of stop doing that, because we'd had a fair amount of success from doing that, so I could relax a little bit, and then start up what I thought was going to be a YouTube channel, which was going to be the music that I like doing, which was sort of going back to my roots, which was sort of more sort of rock based stuff, sort of proper guitar, bass, drums, that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, and I don't know why, I think we got asked to review something. I think it was some pedals or something. So I started doing that, and then realized that I loved reviewing gear. So it just ended up like that. So now sort of spend my week, which is nice because I get sent loads of stuff, which is fantastic, and I love reviewing gear. And as James said earlier, I'm a complete gearhead, as James is.
Yeah. And you've done a lot of, I've seen so many different types of gear that you guys have demoed on your channel. Is there anything maybe in the last, let's say, year or so that's really stood out, like that you were surprised by? Like, oh, you didn't think that was going to be a great piece of gear. Is there anything that sort of stood out?
So Paul and I have this thing, although we are very similar in our, I think we have very similar musical sensitivities. Yeah. However, we both, there's some of the stuff that I will look at and go, I love that. Paul will go, oh, you've got no taste, and vice versa. It could be music, it could be guitars, it could be anything. But sometimes we just look at the same thing and one of us will go, love it. The other one will just go, yuck. So I bring it does. I bring the strange stuff to the party, and sometimes he'll go, I was not expecting to like that. Yeah. It's happened quite a lot recently.
James has a lack of taste, shall we say.
He is a drummer.
He likes pointy headstocks. And prog music. I think that's James.
I still haven't been able to convert you to liking the Explorer, but I think there's been some stuff so you didn't expect to like. I'm trying to think of something that I brought.
Well, let's talk about some of the gear that we've reviewed then. I think because that's what Chris meant. I mean, not trying to blow your guy's trumpet, but when TONEX came out and I decided to do a review as just by myself, it wasn't approached by OK. Yeah. And we tried out the software, and I was absolutely blown away with it. I mean, I've literally had every single modeler, every single capture device that's out there.
Well, we waited quite a long time for one particular device, and then we both sold it within about a month of getting it.
Yeah, and for some reason, IK really hit the nail on the head with the TONEX system, and that was before the pedal came out. So I was impressed with the software.
Yeah,
and it just seemed like a no-brainer. If you could be in a studio and have the equivalent of what a Kemper or a Cortex was doing, but still have access to all of the great effects that you're used to using, whether that be pedal-based or rack-based or even software-based.
Yeah,
that just seemed like the perfect option for me. So if I could capture my Matchless amp, which you can't see, it's over there somewhere. Yeah. If I could capture that, put that into software, play through that on a track without having to switch it on, I'm completely happy. If it feels good, that takes the game. That's a different game. That's which it did. As soon as you plugged into it, it's like, oh, hold on, this actually feels good. This doesn't feel like some sort of half-baked plugin that you can. There's a variety out there of that.
Yeah.
So, and then the pedal came out, and it was just like, this is so now that's more or less what I take out live. So I just take out the TONEX, a bunch of pedals, and in-ear monitors, and that's it.
Yeah. Your Matchless, I remember you guys uploaded the Matchless tone model to ToneNet, and the thing just took off. I think it's one of the most downloaded tone models of all time. Have you guys?
Great.
I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it's been a very popular one, and that I assume that's what led to creating the Matchless collection for ToneNet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, it was funny because I kept getting the emails through saying that what's the top 10 downloaded captures, and it was always, the Matchless was always number one. Yeah. So it was we thought, oh, okay, then maybe maybe what I like, some other people will like, some of the pedals that we attach to the amps as well.
Yeah. What do you like about the Matchless? I'm curious. I mean, I know it's a great amp, but what sort of resonates with you?
Oh well, it's a really interesting amp because it's a Matchless Independent, so it's a Matchless amp. So you've got that Vox sort of style tone to it,
Yeah.
but because it's EL34 bass as well, you've got some of the Marshall style tones as well. So it's got that Vox channel, and then it's also got some almost like a JCM 800 couple of channels. There's 3 channels on it, and I love it because it is to me the most versatile amp. The only thing about it is lack of reverb, but now now it's in the TONEX pedal. I can stick a reverb pedal after TONEX and have the reverb pedal that that I want, which really works.
So
Paul's been on a bit of a tone hunt, though, haven't you? You've been after the ultimate tube amp for about 18 months, 2 years now, haven't you?
I think it's longer than that. Yeah. So the Matchless. I was quite happy with the Matchless. I was really happy with the Matchless, and now I bought a 2 Rock, and I've got a bit of a one day I absolutely love it, and one day I hate it, and at the moment today I turned it on and I absolutely love it. So it's a good day.
Yeah. So I know you guys are both, you mentioned you're both gearheads. So James, I knew you have a pretty extensive collection of gear, but I also saw, Paul, on one of your videos that now you're trying to you have a certain set of guitars that it's one in, one out kind of philosophy at this point, which I don't think James is on the same page. I mean, I don't know, James, you seem to like to collect anything, right?
I would love to be able to do the whole kind of, have 5, sell 2, upgrade 1, sell another 1, upgrade, and have all super duper amazing custom shop stroke master built, the equivalent guitars beginning with F, guitars beginning with G. But I kind of look around here and go, I don't want to sell any of these, because for the studio, it is different. We do run different kind of studios. I want to be able to have clients come in and go, oh, have you got a Jazzmaster or a Jaguar or a Les Paul or a Strat? And of course, as much as I would love to have master built versions of all of these, at some point I still have to pay my mortgage.
Right.
So I've got kind of, a nice collection of good level guitars. I have got a couple of interesting ones, but they're the ones that my kids come in and play. And I don't go, oh my God, the American telly stays on the wall and they come in and play the cheap guitars or the inexpensive guitars. Because these days, as we've proven on the channel, even the cheap ones are still amazing guitars.
Yeah.
But I do find it difficult to sell stuff. Although I do have currently 4 amps on the way out at the minute. 4 amps are going. All have been captured, of course.
Yeah. Are you?
But that's the plan at the moment. I'm sorry. So yeah, that's the plan at the moment. We're sort of buying amps and capturing them to put up on the TONEX, on ToneNet. So yeah, there's a lot. Things go out of my door. Things don't go out of James's door.
What do you look for when you're looking for a new amp? I mean, is it something that you haven't used before, or is there a specific era? Is there a certain style that you feel you need to kind of round out your collection, or is there just a sound that you're going for?
I think we've pretty much had all of the flavors, and at the moment, I think the thing that I want to give people with the partner collections is amps that most people won't be able to get their hands on. Either because they're rare or they're very expensive. So it's nice to give people those, the options of playing through those amps.
Yeah.
So that's why I bought the 2 Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And the Matchless. I mean, I tend to like. I'm not proud of it. I'm a bit of a guitar snob. So I tend to buy the. Oh, I love that. Oh, I've always wanted one of those. And James tends to be, no, I'll buy something sensible and that.
So now, when you create some of these captures, there's some pretty cool pedals that you also pair up with. So how do you decide that? I mean, obviously you have your favorite pedals, but sometimes certain pedals work well with certain amplifiers. Is there a certain sort of testing process that you guys go through, or do you just kind of know certain ones are going to work well?
No, I think it's I've got a bundle of, I've got literally hundreds of pedals, and part of the big process of doing these captures. Excuse my dog. My wife and my son are coming back, and the dog's kicking off, so he's very excited. I will. Sorry. Anyway, I'll carry on. So part of the process, part of the reason why it takes us so long to do these captures is because I'm going through all of the different pedals and to try and find the ones that actually work with the amplifiers.
Yeah.
So I have my sort of favorite pedals, which are like the Duelist, the Kingdom Duelist, Klon style pedals. I'm looking down at my pedal board now. So they always end up on the captures.
Yeah. And so
James, and I'll let James answer. While I close my doors, now they're back. I'll let James sort of finish off his bit.
I think you're right. Not all pedals work with all amps. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And like Paul, I've got not quite such a collection of pedals and stuff, but he hasn't got the collection of snare drums that I've got. But I sort of try most things and go yes, no, yes, find the sweet spot. And some of the pedals that I've got here don't exist anywhere else because they're homemade.
Yeah.
Or they've been bought as kits and tweaked and stuff. So we've got some of the pedals, the homemade type stuff, doesn't exist anywhere else because they were made by me.
Yeah.
And some of them sound great, and some of them you think, oh, that's a really good pairing. And then sometimes you go, no, that really doesn't work.
Right. So describe some of that stuff, those pedals you have right there. Can you give us a little bit of...
So this one is basically it started off life as a Candyman 2, which is a kind of a Steve Lukather-esque kind of overdrive distortion type pedal. And I tweaked it a little bit with some sort of different variations of capacitors and resistors and stuff, just to try and get a more... pleasing's the wrong word, but a more me sort of sound. I'm not into mega high gain or anything like that. I like kind of a smooth, richy kind of distortion sound. Yeah. So that's what that one does. And there's kind of a slightly higher gain version with a 3-band EQ. Again, I like lots of different flavors of distortion and stuff because generally reverbs and delays and stuff for the sort of guitar playing I do normally goes in after the recording in the DAW in the mix.
Do you have a certain signal chain that is your kind of go-to setup for recording guitar? Like, certain microphones, certain preamps?
So it's normally, I've got a KHE switcher, which is my kind of amp switching system, which goes between, at the moment, I've got the Friedman BE Deluxe. That sounds amazing. I've got a 50th anniversary AC30, my Chandler, and a special amp that we'll talk about later in that switcher. Yeah. That goes into a 4x12. The 4x12 has either 2 of 4 microphones usually. Yeah. Some sort of 87 type clone, some sort of ribbon type thing, normally a 121 or an R10. A 57 because you kind of have to, and some kind of 414 large diaphragm sort of condenser, FET condenser type thing. Microphones are my real catnip. I've got about 150 mics at last count.
Wow.
That then goes into a Neve pre, 1073 Neve pre, and that goes into the desk and into Pro Tools.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of these crazy people who still has an analog console.
It definitely works. You guys get some really good sounds on your YouTube channel. Is Paul, when you're creating that, do you ever use like IRs or like some type of load box or anything like that when you're doing amp demos, or is it generally run through a cab where you mic it?
If I'm in the studio, yes, almost. If I'm doing a demo of a particular product like an amplifier, yes, it's always using IRs and load boxes, because in my studio, or I should say 90% of the time, it's using IRs and load boxes, because it's really hard to actually shoot a gear video and have an amplifier blaring in the room.
Right. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I haven't got the space to be able to do that here. But luckily, like when we go into, I mean, when we're doing TONEX captures, yes, that is mic'd up and stuff. But luckily, James is a decent sized studio that we can, with a separate room where we can put cabs and speakers and mic them up and do it that way, which is great. It's always, I love sort of having a 4x12. James has got a lovely 4x. Well, I say lovely. It looks awful, but it sounds amazing. He's butchered it.
It doesn't look terrible. I just cut the grill off. I was doing so many tutorials where you had to be able to see where the speaker was on the grill. A Marshall grill cloth, even using the torch thing, was just too thick. So I got a Stanley knife out and cut the thing off. Yeah. So it looks very metal.
Yeah, it looks like it's from some 1980s rehearsal room.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Do you guys get?
But it does sound really good. It does sound amazing.
I know you make some mod some pedals and create some pedals. Do you guys do any modding on your guitars at all, or do you generally, when you buy a guitar, it's kind of like it's set up stock, or you set up the way you want to, and then all the equipment on it is all the hardware and everything is stock?
I tend to buy guitars that you wouldn't mod.
Yeah.
Although occasionally, sometimes when I get asked to review pickups, then I've got to, the pickups have got to come out of a guitar. But I tend to buy guitars that you wouldn't really mod. James, on the other hand, he's always modding stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. Because none of the guitars that I've got I've got a couple that I definitely wouldn't mess around with, just because they're like, my first guitars, things like that. But no, there's nothing that I wouldn't take a Stanley knife to and a soldering iron and start swapping things out, just because I think that's fun. I've kept all the bits for most of them, so if if it ever had to go back, I could. But my Les Paul Studio, we've ripped apart several times because it's just the Les Paul Studio. Yeah. It's not a particularly valuable one. It's just a nice sounding guitar. So we've put all sorts of things in it, and I've stuck with these Kinmans I've got in there at the minute, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
So what would be your desert island guitar if you had to pick one? I know it'd be tough. That's tough.
Mine would probably. I had the opportunity. I used to work in a music shop. I've told this story quite a few times on our live show that we do on a Wednesday. But I used to work in a music shop, and I was 19, 20 at the time, and this 1962 Strat came in. And it's the thing about, you go to America, and I know you see that sort of stuff all the time, but that was rare at the time, and it was £1,500 in the UK at the time, and I probably could have scraped together, if I'd have sold my car or something at the time, I probably could have scraped together enough money to buy it. And so I would say 1962 Strat.
Nice. Now why a Strat though? I mean, obviously it's a great guitar, but what does a Strat give you?
Oh, to me, I prefer single coils. So I've got one guitar at the moment with humbuckers on. I've got a bunch of different guitars and only one with humbuckers on, only because I've got to with the job that we do with the studio rats. I've got to have that humbucker guitar. But for me, if all guitars just had single coils, I'd be very happy.
Yeah. How about you, James? What would be your desert? I mean, you could pick a drum kit if you want. I'll let you.
No, the thing about drums is that, and I promise I won't go off on one about drums, because normally Paul just does this whole kind of thing when I do. I'm not into old drums. You know how there's been a resurgence in vintage drum sounds and old drums, things like that. That's really not my bag of chips. The kit that I have in the studio, my Sonorous Q2, is my ultimate drum kit. I've never played a kit that sounds as good as it does in this. It sounds amazing. But I think Desert Island Guitars, I think it would be my Patrick Eggle, because it's the guitar that's been with me the longest. It's toured with me. I've been around the world with it, and I just, it's like when I play it, it's not a guitar. It's an extension of me, and that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
I know exactly what it's going to do. I know exactly how it's going to play, exactly how it's going to feel, and I love it. So I guess it would be that. But say, that's the only guitar that I've got. I would not tweak it. I would not change a thing on it, because it's such a piece of history for me.
Yeah, there's something to be said for knowing the instrument, and that you've played it for a long time, and I think that's true with it. Whether it's a guitar or amplifier, if you learn how to really play it, then it is just always trying to switch things up. And I think it's good to experiment, but sometimes it's good to just really learn how to play the actual instrument, whether it's the guitar or the amp.
And that's not saying it's the greatest guitar in the world. It's definitely not. It's another one of those cases where Paul expected to hate it when he played it and went, actually, I quite like this, which was quite reassuring for me. But that guitar and me have done a lot of miles, a lot of gigs, from when I was gigging guitar player as well as gigging drummer. It was a quite an interesting band. And I could never sell it. It's one of those guitars I couldn't get rid of.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to get into a couple of things. I want to get into, you guys have a new signature amp that's coming out. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And once we do that, we can talk a little bit about your TONEX collection. And also, there's a bunch of questions coming in from everyone. So I want to also get those up on here. Also, I just want to remind everybody that the Studio Rats is very kind. They're going to be giving away their entire catalog to one lucky winner in the comment section. So it's going to be, we're going to pick some random winner. And at the end of this live stream, we'll notify the winner, and we'll connect with you guys and get you the whole Studio Rats collection, which is awesome. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check out the collection. There's a lot of great stuff on there. So new signature amp, exciting. So let's talk about that. What started this sort of, what was the nucleus of this this development?
So Paul buys known knowns. He'll look for a particular guitar or a particular brand of amp. I have this thing where there's an online auction I hit every quarter, and I'm always looking out for the next thing, the next exciting thing. Maybe it's something we can make a video out of. And this particular auction, I think I bought about 7 or 8 amps, which was, a little extreme and extravagant. But in this selection of amps was a Cornell Plexi 7. Mm-hmm. And we did the video, and the video did quite well. And then Dennis Cornell reached out to us and said, I'd love to meet you guys. You're only up the road. He's in Southend. I'm in the other end of Essex. And he said, I'd love to work with you guys. So we went to see him, and we came up with this crazy plan for a Studio Rats custom amp. And it's kind of gone from there, really. Paul, do you want to pick up the tale?
Yeah. So we wanted, loads of people comment on the Matchless amp, on the Independence 35 that I've got. And so what we decided to do was to take the best bits out of that amp, which is the first channel, to be honest. That's the channel that I use all the time, just with pedals on it, and then take that as the basis or the starting block of that amp, and then create an amp that of all the things that I'd like the Matchless to be, and then add those sort of things or add some of those tones to it. And yeah, it's been really good. It's been really interesting. Dennis has been working his butt off. James and I sort of turn up one week and go, oh, we like that, don't like that, like that, and then we go down. And it's been really interesting because like he's a bit of a maverick. Is Dennis? He'll open up the amp, plug it in, and level these bare wires. And we all know not to play with a valve amplifier,
right.
Internally, and he's there with a live valve amp and he's chopping bits out and soldering bits into it, saying, do you like this or do you like this, and what about that? So
it's quite brave, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
It's very brave. Yeah, we obviously knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then was it last week or the week before, we finalized it, and we've got the prototype. James has actually got the prototype at the moment. It's in a bit of a mess because of all the things that have been chopped out of it and added to it. And, but so we finalised on the design of it, and it's all very exciting.
Nice. So what's
I'll let James sort of get back to it.
Is it going to be EL34s in this one, or is it going to be something different?
It's 84s. It's 84s in this one. Yeah, because it's we wanted an amp that was still going to be a studio amp.
Yeah.
So we've made it 20 watts, switchable down to, I think it goes down to about, is it 10 watts? Does it go down to 5 watts? I can't remember, James. It goes down. 20 down to 10. But obviously, because of headroom and stuff, things do and don't happen at halfway. And, I've learned an awful lot about valve theory and about controls and headroom and stuff by doing this.
Yeah.
And it's been really interesting, how people go on, oh, we changed this, we changed that. We've changed single components and gone, oh no, put it back, change it back. It's been really bizarre how, adding or subtracting a resistor or a capacitor changes the sweep of the controls. And it's been really interesting learning not just how to dial an amp in, but how on the outside, but how you dial it in on the inside as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what is there going to be a cabinet with this, or is this going to be a combo, or is it head only?
It's a head at the moment. It's a head at the moment with an option of reverb. Now, it was really funny actually because I wanted it with reverb, and Dennis made this amp, put reverb, put a tank in it, and then took the tank out. As soon as he said, oh, let's just take the tank out, tell me what you think. And it was an instant tone change. It was like, that's there it is. It's like it was so much fatter, it had more gain. So it is amazing, like just by adding in everything you add to the amp is going to take away from the amp as such. Yeah. So even like an effects loop or it's been quite eye-opening how much it's changed and what we originally wanted and then how we've simplified it just to make the tone better.
Yeah.
It's been we had a list of about 500 features we wanted. And I've got it down to about 5 features. And every time we take something away, it sounds better.
Yeah. And hopefully this is going to wind up on your TONEX collection. Yeah. Is this something
definitely
so people get the opportunity to really play this thing? So that's great.
I mean, it is going to be a thing that's available. You can buy this thing, the real deal, but it is a handmade point-to-point amplifier. So, and with that comes a certain. It's not going to be expensive for a point-to-point handmade amp, but there is still a price tag that goes along with it. So, if anybody thinks, "Wow, that sounds amazing! I wish I could use it within TONEX," well, guess what we're going to do?
Right. Yeah. That's great. That's great. All that hard work, people get to benefit from all that hard work you guys are doing. That's great. Let's get into a little bit of your TONEX collection. So I'm going to bring up next window here. So you guys have 14 collections right now up on the ToneNet. So there's a lot of great, there's just everything, a lot of variety there from, individual amp tone models to some different types of collections and things like that. So we talked a little bit earlier about your Matchless amp. That's been a really popular one. Is there anything, what if you were to recommend, like maybe a couple, if people are new to this, what would you recommend people to start with? Any particular collections or any amps that you feel are good starting points?
Go through
I think it
my
depends on the
favorites
sort.
would be. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
You go. I'll because I think we've got, again, we bring a different side to this discussion.
Definitely. So I love, and I wasn't expecting to like it. There's down there on the bottom right hand side, the best tweed ever, which is a divided by 13 CJ13. CJ13, I think was a model, and I wasn't expecting to like that amp because it's sort of tweed based.
Mm-hmm.
And it's divided by 13, handmade in the States amp. And I see someone's commented in the comments about my old divided by 13 RSA, because I love that amp. That's a great sounding amp. And so I wasn't expecting to like the CJ11, not 13, and that is a cracking sounding amp. James has also did a capture of his Vox AC30, I think we call the Chime Pack.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, of the packs that are currently uploaded, there's more packs coming soon. But the packs currently unloaded, apart from the Matchless, which will always be my favourite pack, the divided by 13 and James's Chime Pack with the AC30 pack.
Yeah. How about you, James? What's your pick?
See, we tried to do something different rather than having a load of amps in one pack, which definitely, the American pack and the British rock pack are that. We picked some of our favorite amps and made sort of multi packs, if you like. But what's been interesting is doing these and going, okay, in your head, you always dial in a sound that you like, don't you? You think you're dialing in a sound that all sounds very similar. But actually, then when you start A-Bing these, you realize how different the same pedals sound on different amps. So I really, really like, because it's so utterly mental, and the amount of tones you can get from the amp just before you even start messing with pedals. I love the LTD pack, which is my Chandler.
Yeah.
Which is a great amp in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a very misunderstood and very underloved amp, because there aren't many of them in the world.
Yeah.
But that was one of those packs we did. And likewise, the Deity pack, which is based on the Buddha.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Buying the Buddha was almost the reason to sell the Bassman, because think of the Buddha as a kind of modern take on a Fender Bassman.
Yeah.
So, although you think there's a lot of overlap between the Bassman, which we call the Blackface pack,
mm-hmm.
and the Deity pack, the Buddha, you think they're going to sound similar. They don't. Although it's the same sort of amp topology and the same sort of flavor, but they do definitely sound different. So, for me, I love the silver face, which is the Fender Twin, the black face, which is the Bassman,
mm-hmm.
and the limited pack. They're my three faves.
Yeah, nice. Well, one thing that I mentioned this earlier that I think is really cool with some of these collections, you include the pedals, different types of overdrive and distortion pedals with it, which to me, when you're using the TONEX pedal, it's great because you can have, for example, a cleaner tone model, let's say on the first button, and then you can have those other tone models with the pedal on the other pedals. It's basically like activating these different overdrive pedals and distortion when you play live without having to carry more pedals with you. It's all baked into the presets, which are really cool. Was that a conscious decision, like to be able to think through what this live use or possible other use cases with the tone models?
I think we both agreed that it was going to be. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I think if I was going to take an amplifier out, I would be taking out those pedals with the amp. So it is almost like it's going out with a pedal board or a a different selection of drives for that particular amp. So yeah. Go on, James.
But I think we both agreed that instead of offering, here's a capture of the pedal, here's a capture of the amp, here's a capture of the cab, we wanted to give, here's the whole solution. This is how we've dialed it in to get the sound as good as we possibly can right here, right now. So there's no kind of, oh, I don't like that, it doesn't work. All the patches that we've done sound as good as we can make them, end to end. Plug in, plug your guitar in, play, go.
Yeah. Is there one amp? What would be your dream amp to do a TONEX collection?
It's got to be a Dumble.
It's got to be a Dumble, yeah.
It's got to be a real Dumble. If I could get my hands on a real Dumble, I know you guys over IK, you've got one.
Yeah.
But I'd love to. I think that's the thing, because James and I have worked in studios all our lives. We have a particular way that we listen to or we like guitar tones, stuff that that we think fits in a mix.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get hold of a proper Dumble.
Yeah.
Although there is one other amp that I would love, and I know you already know what amp I'm going to say, and it's not it's not in the unobtainium range of amps either. I really want a Soldano SLO 100. Because I loved that Clapton Knobfler Gary Moore sound, and that's that sound of those guys in the 90s. I'm a 90s guitar child. What can I say?
Yeah.
It's a great tone. It's a great tone.
So what? Who are some of your influences tone wise? I mean, you just mentioned Gary Moore, but Paul, what about you? What do you? I can take a guess, but I'm gonna let you.
Oh, go on! No, please go on.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You're gonna say go on.
I was gonna say I'm guessing it's probably some British bands influence some of your tone decisions. No.
Maybe. I mean, my favourite guitar player probably of all time has got to be. Well, I was brought up on. My dad was a massive Dire Straits fan, so I was brought up on Mark Knopfler.
Yeah.
So that for sort of clean tones, I don't think. I mean, tone wise, it's just it's got so much tone. Clapton, obviously, but my favourite guitar player of all time is probably Steve Lukather. I just love Steve Lukather ever since I heard him play.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite cut of his that you like? Anything?
What's that?
Do you have a favorite cut?
No, all of it, to be honest. Even just some of his, to be honest, I think it was his sort of session work that I loved.
Yeah. Just
hearing, but growing up in the 80s and literally almost every guitar part that was coming out of the LA scene was Lukather.
Yeah.
And just a obscene amount of talent.
Yeah. How about you, James? Anybody else besides Gary Moore?
I think the other, along with Steve Lukather, who I worship. I mean, as a supergroup go, when you've got Jeff Caro thumping tubs, there's a reason my daughter's middle name is Rosanna, by the way. It's probably Eric Johnson.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard Cliffs of Dover and just went, just oh my God, I've got to try and keep up with this now. And as a tone hound, he's second to none.
Yeah, I remember when that.
We do agree on something.
Yeah, I remember when that Cliffs of Dover came out. It was like a pop song back in the day. I mean, it was getting all kinds of radio play and everything. It was amazing for a instrumental tune to get that much attention. So, yeah, great tune, great player, and everything. Let's see. Let's take in some of these questions here that people have. Let me go over here and let's see. So we have this one here. A Sun Model T would be nice. Have you any Sun amps in the future for you guys?
A lot of it depends what turns up at the auctions for that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Because
occasionally something will turn up and I'll go, Paul and I will have a look through the listing beforehand and go, right, what should we go for? What do we think is good? What's going to be at some point we have to say, what are people going to look for on ToneNet? What are they going to listen to? And what other sounds do they want? So yeah, if a Sun amp turns up for half sensible money on the auctions, then maybe we will.
Yeah. And the same person also commented on your 150 mics.
Yeah.
It is obscene.
They're not, but we're not talking 150 U87s. We are talking, there's a reasonable number of SM58s, 57s, that sort of stuff. But I do have some really nice mics as well.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, it's not quite Abbey Road, but it's fine.
Yeah, they're like paintbrushes. They offer something a different color to it. So, and Paul, you mentioned this before. It's a shame that you sold your divided by 13.
Yeah, the divided by 13. If you like that amp, I think that's probably not a bad shout to try and get another one of those in, because it's very similar to the Matchless and it's in between sort of the Matchless and a Vox, I would say. That it is a fantastic amp. Yeah, but yeah, possibly I should think about trying to get another one of them. And the 2-Rock CRS. Well, funny enough, we've just done the 2-Rock Bloomfield drive, which I prefer the Bloomfield to the CRS.
Yeah,
to be honest, because you can do more with it. So we've captured that. That's coming, I think, in the next upload of the partner collections. Nice. But the RSA 23, I think I should definitely get one of them. That was a great amp. And I wish I had all the space to store all this stuff, because if I did, I would, and the money, I would do, as opposed to having to sell an amp to get another amp to capture.
Yeah. So on that note, let's see if I can maybe broaden that out. Here we go. So thanks for all your great work. I'm using my TONEX and more in lieu of the HX Stomp and GX 100 models in general. Are you each leaning more towards capturing tech or modeling tech? Which seems like you guys embraced. You obviously have a lot of experience in the analog world and still continue to explore that. But the newer technology is something that you're definitely not ignoring and embracing it as things get progressively better. Is that a conscious effort, or you just feel like things have really reached a point where the digital
reach for a modeler, a modeler effects platform, call it what you will, and not worry that maybe it wasn't going to be quite as great a sound as having a tube amp next to me with a load of effects and stuff. Whereas now that worry about the quality of the sound coming from modeling platforms, pick your flavor, it doesn't matter. They all sound amazing these days. Would I still, for the key moment solo on a track, still reach and put mics in front of cabinets with real amps? I probably still would. Yeah. Just because there is something still there. Yeah. That they offer. But 99% of the time I'm plugging into TONEX or into my ancient 11 rack or some other kind of digital platform.
Yeah. It's super convenient. I mean, there is definitely the argument of getting that feedback from the cabinet that's hard to replicate through studio monitors but the tones that are coming out to these days are just insane. It really, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like things are getting a lot more inspiring to play in the digital world than they were, let's say, 10 years ago. And that's a big part of it. Just as a musician, you want to obviously get your best performance, and if the tone is not right, whether it's live or in the studio, there's always this you're always questioning it. It's always you're struggling with it with the performance. So you guys feel the same way? Do you feel like when the tone is right, it's just the performance starts to really blossom due to the gear and the sound?
Absolutely. That's not even a question. It's like, if it's feel first, it has to feel right. One of the things about the Studio Rats amp is it's about the feel. I am not as accomplished a guitar player as Paul is. I still think I'm a reasonable guitar player. And if I'm feeling not comfortable with a digital platform, as I said earlier, we both were on the back order list for one particular modeling platform, and then within a month sold it because it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
There's and as well, I think when I'm in a studio, if I'm in a big studio and I've got the opportunity to have an amplifier there, personally, I much prefer the amplifier to be out in the live room and me to be in the control room, and then playing through the amp and then listening back to it through the monitors. That's just, I think it's just the way that I've grown up and have always liked that. So I would, so I would say sometimes I would be able to tell the difference if that's happening. If you're saying, right, I want my amplifier out in the main room, I want it mic'd up, but I want you to patch through some effects. So I'd like a bit of a Lexicon 224 reverb or vice versa, and then having that coming through the monitors compared to what's in something that's been captured. I think I'd defy a lot of people to actually use the effects, because the effects, especially in the GX100, is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good pairing, good combination of the two.
Yeah.
One other question here about your captures here. Were all of them done in the advanced mode? I know that's a question that comes up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It takes a long time.
An hour and a half later.
But yes,
the funny thing is,
that's right. It takes 3 days for us to do a whole capture pack.
Yeah. Go ahead, James.
There are some times where Paul, myself, have been in the same room doing captures at the same time with 3 laptops. So I have an older Intel-based Mac laptop. Paul's got an M2 and I've got an M1. And we basically did capture racing, to see if it made a difference. And there's not much in it. I mean, the older machine did take a bit longer, but we're not talking hours longer. It was like 15, 20 minutes, whereas the M2 was definitely quicker. So, it's time consuming.
Yeah,
letting that machine sit there and do its number crunching.
Yeah, and that's what's great about these collections that you guys offer, is that you guys have not only taken the time to, whether it's choosing the microphones, the mic placement, the cabinets, the amplifier settings, the pedal settings. There's a lot of these little moving parts to get to the final sound, and it really takes a great ear to be able to know how to navigate all these different sort of layers, if you will. So I'm guessing that's just, for you guys, it's all that experience of being in the studio, recording guitar, and obviously playing as a musician. I mean, does that I assume it's probably getting more intuitive to you, but I mean, is there anything that you've personally kind of made a conscious let's say effort to listen for, or to sort of develop over the years when it comes to getting a great guitar sound? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the thing that loads of people miss out with guitar tones, and I think this happens a lot with modular capture style devices, is people are sometimes you're capturing these or creating models and their full frequency. So they range from the full 20 hertz up to 20 kilohertz and probably beyond.
Yeah.
But that's what we can hear. Now, in a mix, if you had something that was that full frequency, it's taken up so much space of other instruments.
Yeah.
So for me, yes, I think that's one of the things, is actually capturing the right part of guitar sound as opposed to the wrong part.
Yeah. Do you ever measure within a mix when you're kind of judging some of these captures, like throw it into a mix and see how it sits?
Oh, I see.
I've definitely used them in mixes. I've used them in mixes afterwards.
Yeah.
I know full well I've just gone, I'll use that in this mix. It'll sound great.
Yeah.
I don't think we did it in advance or anything. I think it was just, let's make this sound as good as it possibly can. Oh, that mic, there's a bit of a phase variation between those two mics. Let's move it around a little bit. I think it's one of those, if you hit on a happy accident, it's very rare that you get it right first time. You stick the two mics up and you go, oh, bang, we're on. No, there's a little bit of tweaking, pushing, pulling and stuff like that, just to make sure everything's as it should be.
Yeah. Definitely.
But that's one of the other great features of a capture device, is if you are micing up an amplifier in the studio and you've captured that sound, it takes a couple of cable changes, and then so you've recorded that sound of that amplifier. It only takes a couple of cable changes just to stick it in TONEX, capture that sound, so you can always go back to it. Now, in a recording situation, if you need to do any overdubs, that is incredibly handy. Or if you take the sound out live, again, it's incredibly handy.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. A couple more questions here. And then again, how about the Fuchs ODS and the Red Plate OC? Amp Capture, saw them on your channel recently. Killer stuff. Do you still have them? Note to Paul, stop selling amazing amps. So
I wish
So
I could.
That
I
was
wish I
a
had the
trip
space or the money to keep them all.
The Fuchs, the Red Plate, and the what was the other amp that we went? But we basically, one of our readers reached out to us and said, do you fancy coming and trying some of my amps? And we said, yeah. So we went out on our
it wasn't just that
amp safari to try these amazing amps.
But that was a special day because he had
that was a byproduct.
Yeah, he had a 58 Les Paul and an original 58 Les Paul and an original 56, I think it was 57 Les Paul. Uh-huh. So that was a special treat that day. But that Red Plate, funny enough, the Red Plate, it was a Dumble clone, and that amp was incredible. We weren't so keen on the Fuchs, were we? But the Red Plate was unbelievable.
Yeah,
the Red Plate is one of those amps that if one came up, I think we'd grab it, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Because that's one of those amps you just. They keep appearing, and every time we see them, they've gone. Yeah. You know, the shop, the dealer, whoever has got rid of it, they've gone pretty quick. So, what was the other amp that was that day? It was the Fuchs, the Red Plate, and there was Two Rock.
It was Two Rock. It's TRS.
And I remember going, these amps sound incredible. They're another level amp. You know, I've got Marshalls and Fenders and stuff. They're another level.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one nice thing about TONEX is that you can document it. So it's a great way to keep track. You know, you can purchase like what you guys are doing, purchase new amps, model them, and then you always have them in your sort of inventory of tones that you can pull from, which is great.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if there's anything else, any other questions people are having. As mentioned a couple of times in this stream that James and Paul are going to be giving away their entire catalog, which is really cool. You get all those amps we were just talking about. You get that plus a lot more in their TONEX collection, which is really cool. So thanks, Paul and James, for offering that to one lucky winner. We'll have to choose one right after this live stream. Let's see, anything else? Here's one. Let's see, great tones from Steve. Like very much tones of Andy Timmons. He definitely has a great sound. You guys, Andy Timmons fans at all?
Oh yeah, just awesome,
massive.
I think some of
I've got his delay back there somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, he just has such a great range from clean to just overdriven tones. It's just amazing and the way he has the delays set up and everything is really, really just creates a certain signature to his sound.
Yeah, he's the sort of guitar player that makes you want to give up.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Have you heard any new guitar players that surfaced recently that you really feel are making waves?
I don't know about recently, but every time I listen to Chris Buck, if you know Chris Buck,
yes, great player.
He's just I mean, he's one of those guitar players that as soon as he plays, you know it's him.
Yeah,
and I think his tone, intonation, excuse me, is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how he uses his fingers on a lot of the stuff that he plays. There's a certain dynamic quality that you can get and sound wise too from just playing with your fingers. Do you use your fingers a lot, Paul, when you play?
Yeah, I used to more than I do now. Yeah. I need to get back into that actually.
Yeah, awesome.
Excuse me.
All right. Well, on that note, I say we wrap it up. Again, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking about.
Pleasure.
You're very, very welcome.
all things gear and stuff. Hopefully we can have you back on. We can dive into maybe some new collections, and maybe even more, like your new amp would be great to see that. And we can definitely do some gearing out on that, nerding out, as they say. So thanks everyone for watching, tuning in on this live stream, and definitely check out the Studio Rats on their YouTube channel. And where else can people find you guys?
Well, we have a new channel that we started.
Sorry, there's a delay, isn't there? So we keep interrupting each other.
There is, yeah.
Go ahead, James.
There's also a new channel we started a couple of 3 weeks ago, which is TSR Jivey Talks Tech. So if you're not necessarily first call guitar player, but you want to find out about studio kit and plugins and software that's, still very relevant to the recording guitar player, but maybe we might even talk about drums and stuff occasionally. So that's TSR Jivey Talks Tech. But yeah, Studio Rats website, thestudiorats.net, is definitely a place to find us and all our good stuff.
Cool. And like I mentioned earlier, definitely check out their collection on ToneNet and TONEX. They have free tone models they have one free tone model per collection. So it's a great way to get a little taste of what they have. So a lot of great stuff. And we also have a lot of great partners up there as well. So definitely check that out. So yeah, until next time, thank you, gentlemen, for tuning in and chatting with us today. And hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Take care.